So if any of y'all have ever changed the oil on a, I don't know about the older ones because this is my first one, but on a 6.7 Cummins, it's typically a disaster because with this plug being right there in the bottom of the sump and 3 gallons of oil being above it, it usually comes out all at once, and regardless of the size of your pan, it gets everywhere. And so I did that twice and said that's shit. So now I have installed a little adapter valve that I got from Gino's Garage. Really like that place. But this is going to be my first attempt at changing the oil using it. And now we're going to try to reposition the camera. I got to take a sample too because I got my Blackstone sample. Make sure that stuff's still good. Get this thing positioned. Now they have some other adapters that use just quarter turn valves. This one has a special piece that you screw in. Take this cap off. Looks pretty good, no real leaks, which is nice. Get my sample bottle ready. And this piece comes with about 6 more inches of stuff on it. And I just cut it off because I don't need that much, but ostensibly you screw this onto here and the oil comes out. Oh, that's very nice. It's slow though, it's certainly slower compared to the factory, but I'll let that drain a little bit and grab a sample. There we go. Phew. That is some filthy oil. That's one thing I'm always impressed, because this oil only has 6,100 miles on it, or maybe just a little over 6,000 miles on it, because I don't drive this enough to hit the 15,000 miles or 6, so I have to go by the or 6 months. And it never ceases to amaze me how filthy a diesel makes oil. But so we're going to let that drain, and I'm going to go clean this up and cap it off. Alright, well that did pretty well. I'm going to let that continue to drain into this. Just get the last little bits out as I set this up for the next disaster, which is the removal of the oil filter. The other thing that I don't really like about this engine, there's nothing I can do about it, is the oil filter location. I'd love to put a separate bypass setup on it, but according to the book, that voids warranty. So since this is still under warranty, we're going to go with these. The issue is, because of these 2 hoses, which I think are air conditioning, or hell, I don't know, whatever they are, but those 2 hoses there make it impossible to pull that filter out of that hole without tipping it upside down. And it won't go out through the bottom because of the 4-wheel drive. And so they actually made a little spout underneath it in the frame so that it catches the shit that falls out of it and drops it into your pan ostensibly, but it actually just gets all over the steering. But what I've started doing is poking a hole in it with a hammer and a screwdriver right about here, and then that lets the oil drain out of it. So yeah, I can make one confined mess rather than just dumping it everywhere into the wheel well. So if I can find a place to set this camera, that's what I'm going to do next. Yeah, it's kind of brutal, but what are you going to do? And yeah, it's pouring all over the place. It's on the axle, going basically everywhere except where it was designed to go. But at least it's going into the bucket. So now we'll let that drain for a while. Alright, that's getting there. Let's see if we can get this thing on there and actually get it off. Now it's loose anyway. And that's usually where the disaster starts. Phew. All right. And now it's out. And not terribly messy. Everything in there looks reasonably dry. And I've only got half of the axle to clean up, rather than this entire frame. So now I'm going to put the oil filter back on, put my plug back in, and top her up. Oh, and what we're running actually is a Fleet Guard LF 16035. This is the Cummins recommended filter for this engine. It's not the Mopar filter. The Mopar filter is a good filter. Obviously there'd be nothing wrong with running that. This one I like because the bottom half of it is supposedly a little bit of a bypass type filter internally to the unit that has a little bit better filtration. So, because I'm a big fan of the bypass systems and they won't let me install it for warranty reasons, we're going to use a filter from Cummins that basically does that. So, the rest of the process is the reverse of what you just saw. Alright, so there's that. The new filter is on. All happy. Some of the oil is wiped up, because I just don't care as much as that. Grab my light before I forget it and run over it. And now we're just going to add 3 gallons of what I'm running this time is Mobile Delvac 1540, because again, I changed this thing. The next time I change this, the oil will probably have 3,000 miles on it, because I drove it actually for work this last trip and put an extra 3,000 miles in what I wanted to put on it. So when you're not searching for extended life, there's no use running synthetic, there's no use running anything other than the grade of oil that meets the manufacturer's specifications. That's it. I mean, if you're doing extended life, then fine, run $20 a quart oil all you want. But considering I got to dump out 3 gallons of basically good oil every 6 months regardless of mileage, I'm going as inexpensive as possible as long as it meets the specs. So that's what is next. All right, now we gotta start her up. set for another 6 months.